Hi, I'm New York State Conservative Party Chairman Jerry Kassar, and welcome to our regular podcast, Patriots Podium. Our show brings newsmakers, conservative political leaders, political pundits, and conservative thinkers to you for an informal conversation on their work and the issues of the day. I'm pleased to be joined by Timothy Collmer, the New York commander of the American Legion. I think you actually call yourself the New York Division. Am I correct? The New York Division of the American Legion.
It's the Department of New York, yes.
The Department of New York. Department of New York. Tim is a retired correction officer who served 21 years as an active and reserve member of the Army. He has held numerous leadership positions on his post, the county, the district, and state level in the American Legion, as well as a continuing role on a national level. The American Legion, with 2 million members in the nation, is the oldest and largest of our country's veterans organizations. Obviously, it's a highly respected advocate in support of service members and veterans, a leading advocate for a strong national defense, and an outspoken voice for patriotism and honor. The Department of New York has more than 110,000 members, I believe. I think you have over 800 posts. I mean, we have so many posts where I live in Brooklyn, throughout the state's 62 counties. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome, very welcome. I'd like to start with the basics, if you don't mind. I believe many New Yorkers are familiar with the Legion posts, activities around major holidays like Memorial Day and your honor guards. And of course, many New Yorkers are actually members. But there is so much more. Could you take us through some of the many programs and services that the American Legion provides?
Sure. The American Legion provides many, many services for our active duty members, as well as we do as a veteran service organization. We send them to the right individuals to get the benefits through the VA that they need and they so richly deserve. Each one of our veterans, county veteran service officers, they're accredited through the American Legion, so they can, represent these individuals in any part of the claims process that they need help with. Huge. In New York, we've got hundreds of thousands of veterans and benefits that they need. As when it comes to children and youth, we do a lot for children and youth, like baseball. That's going on right now, the American Legion Baseball. Boy State, that starts tomorrow. The oratorical contest, which talks about different aspects of the Constitution. Junior shooting sports, teaches and safety, flag education, and Be the One initiative to help stop veteran suicide. That was my main speaking point this year, was ways to help stop veteran suicide, and of course scouting. And those are just some of the things we do. We operate as a Legion family with the auxiliary and the Sons, and the Legion Riders, and we work. We have the family.
Let me ask you just two areas here. I just want to ask you about Legion Baseball. You've had a bunch of pros that have come out over the years out of Legion Baseball. I know not so many recently, but over the last 40 or 50 years, I'm a big baseball fan. You've got some professional ball players that have come out of your Legion sports. Am I correct?
That's correct. The biggest majority of active baseball players now, aspect of Legion baseball throughout their growing up.
Yeah, no, now let me just ask you, Bet. I mean, there's been a lot of movement over the last few years concerning, veterans hospitals, possible closing services. I mean, we as a party are constantly, fighting to keep veterans hospitals, veterans services, the formal stuff going. And I know I've stood alongside your members down in New York City many times about, like, where we live. We have a big veterans hospital in my neighborhood here next to Fort Hamilton Army Base. And we've succeeded in keeping services there. What's your general view of the services and that the Veterans Administration is offering? Are they providing? Is their commitment to the hospital system significant enough? Are they improving? There's been a lot of criticism. How do you look at the Veterans Administration?
Well, I look at the health side of the Veterans Administration. I look at it. I remember back when the American Legion called for the director of the VA to resign. I was actually there when the national commander called for him to resign, and he did end up resigning. But that created an effect where the system got a whole lot better, and it is gotten so much better now that their approval rating is around the 95% range. The veterans that go there are really pleased with the care they're getting, the services they're getting. There's always room for improvement, but in the directors of the hospitals are always looking for ways to do improvements. The American Legion has a program where we'll go in and we'll inspect VA hospitals, and we'll sit down with the staff. We won't just talk to the director and the head of nurses and stuff like that. We'll talk to patients and family members and stuff like that to see their viewpoints, because we want to get an overall picture of what their feeling is about the VA. And it's in the last 5 or 6 years has been very positive.
We were successful here. Our response, I mean, they responded. I know, they do move sometimes some of the services around, but I think what they ended up doing was they increased some of the services that were very important to our community here, and possibly move some of other services into one of the Manhattan hospitals. So, I mean, they were in the end responsive. We really lost nothing. If anything, this is a big operation over here, and there's a lot of veterans in my neighborhood from. It used to be World War II, but plenty of Vietnam veterans here, and
Right.
they make very heavy use of that facility. Let me ask you this: the American Legion, they're really great advocates for patriotism and honoring our flag. It seems that more and more younger Americans are turning away from the values of our nation, what our nation stands upon. And as you know, we see the national anthem disrespected at many sporting events, with athletes taking a knee. What are some of the ways, and I think you started to talk about it, the American Legion confronts the growing retreat from patriotism?
The American Legion tries to get into the schools, and we talk about flag etiquette, and those of the flag and we start right down at the kindergarten level. And we also include homeschool individuals, and we talk to them about the history of the flag, the proper folding of the flag, and what each fold means, because each fold has a meaning, and how to properly dispose of a flag. And when we fold the flag up, we'll actually get the kids up and we'll help them fold the flag, so they what it's like to fold a flag, and we'll take the time with those individuals, and we make it fun for them to learn about the American flag and what it stands for.
That's very good. I do think I 100% agree with you. It's a great interest if you can spark the interest, and you all spark the interest, and then you see that kids are interested. I mean, we're always fighting a battle here or there to say the Pledge of Allegiance in a school. I mean, there's always these wonkish type school leaders, and I just don't get it, because I find that young minds have a real interest in this. They're not disposed to think there's something wrong with patriotism, and all you really got to do is give them the opportunity to experience it.
Right.
I mean, you're talking baseball, you're talking Boy Scouts, you're talking about the camping activities you're doing, you're talking about the shooting, the gun safety. I mean, these are just very basic American things that I think when you start getting, leadership that comes out of the world, out of some of our bigger cities, they literally have no idea what is going on around the country. So thank you for those efforts. Very much thank you for those efforts.
Yes,
Let me ask you this. You're vocal advocates for national security and a strong national defense. Do you guys lobby in Washington? And is there any particular items that you're pushing in D.C. or Albany right now?
Yeah, well, in D.C., we have an office in D.C., and those individuals that work in that office in D.C. are on the Hill all the time, testifying before Congress about veterans benefits, and they fight for veterans benefits and every day. But there's also a program that the American Legion had, and everybody can do this. get on your www.legion.org/action, and you'll see it'll pop up, and you'll see different aspects on there, and you can vote on those. You can send a message to your congressional leaders every day, once a day, and some of the things that we're pushing right now. Senator Elizabeth Dole, 21st century veterans health care and benefit improvement. Love lives on. Support our Gold Star spouses. Passed contract on our Veterans Act of 2024. Congressional Gold Medal for Hello Girls of World War. Pay the Coast Guard, which is huge. When there's no budget, when there's no federal budget, the Coast Guard doesn't get paid. Tell Congress to fight back against predatory claims sharks, and that deals with the toxic chemicals at Camp Lejeune.
You just brought up I think you answered the question. The Coast Guard, for purposes of the American Legion, is considered a military service, correct?
That is correct.
That makes total sense to me. I just wanted to check it through. Let me ask you this: you're very heavily involved. How did this all come about with you? What is your history, and how's the American Legion doing in New York State?
I got involved in the American Legion over 30 years ago, and like you said, I retired as a retired, and there was a Legion post right in front of the prison that I worked in, and I stopped in there one day and I joined. Well, the next thing you know, you're a secretary type thing, and since then I've been a post, county, and district commander, like you said, as well as I'm on a national commission. The American Legion in New York, in my opinion, this year is doing very well. We had a goal this year, and we're so close to meeting that goal right now that more members will be over 100%. We have seen growth in the American Legion, not just from Vietnam veterans, but from younger veterans, and they want to get involved. They feel they have something to serve and something to do, and they do. They are very important to us, and we would like to see the younger veterans get involved and take over my job. As we will mentor them, and that's a big partnership. So New York American Legion, in my opinion, is doing very well this year.
Well, I can tell you, we in the Conservative Party also share your desire to see younger people take over for us. So yeah. we're on the same flag, the same level as you. Let me ask you this: the Legion, of course, is non-political, but registering and voting is a basic American right and important obligation. Does the Legion run any voter registration drives, or do you make a special effort to encourage people to come out and vote?
We will get. We'll have voter registration forms. Most of the posts have them. Where if it comes down to it, we'll ask them if they're registered to vote. If not, we'll help them get registered. We don't care what party they belong to. We just want to make sure that they get registered to vote. And on days that voting days, if they need transportation to the polling place, we'll pick them up and we'll take them there. And then you don't necessarily have to be a veteran. We will do that. In our communities, we open it up to everybody that needs a transportation to the polling place.
It's the patriotic thing to do to vote. I mean,
right.
When you got to explain it to somebody, it makes you get a little worrisome. But that's, I mean, you know what? I mean, they're not voting in mainland China or Russia for at least for a ticket.
Right.
But, they all vote, but they ain't voting for a choice. So, I mean, my father and my uncles were World War II and Korean War veterans. Some of them were actually in combat, but they all served. At some point, they all joined the American Legion. I mean, some were members until they got married and their wives thought they should be home every night or whatever, but they were all members at some point in the American Legion, everybody in my family. And some with the VFW. We had a few medal winners in the family, and they saw combat, and they also joined the VFW. For the past 23 years, the U.S. has been involved, and I think you partially answered this, in a number of important overseas military actions. I mean, they're really wars, but there's a process, so we don't necessarily declare them wars. But so, to your earlier point, you are finding that recent male and female veterans are joining the American Legion?
Yes, absolutely. We got a lot of younger people coming into the American Legion because they one thing about being in the service, and once you leave the service, sometimes it's not there. But if you join a local Legion post, we all have something in common. We served, and there's where the camaraderie comes in. We can sit down and talk to one another, and we'll understand what the other person's saying. Where the person that's not necessarily been in the service probably would not understand about what we went through and stuff like that. So, getting the younger veterans, and they like the traditional part of the American Legion because being a part of a military unit is, and we make them comfortable, if they need to talk to somebody, that's what we're there for. So they can talk and not be afraid of repercussions.
And I would guess that individuals from a particular time frame, so for argument's sake, the Persian Gulf, would be more associated and have a different conversation with Persian Gulf veterans versus say Vietnam veterans. I mean, obviously, my family was Korean in World War II. Not too many around, but they had different experiences. My wife's father was at the border when the Chinese came over in Korea, and to his day of he died, he never spoke about whatever occurred. Saw more action than he ever wanted to talk about with anybody. Mm-hmm. But maybe he was talking with his American Legion brethren, but he wasn't talking to his family about it. I can tell you that. So, and they find out snippets here and there, and they say, "My God, this was unbelievable." So, let me ask you this: the American Legion has an auxiliary. They have the Sons of the American Legion, which I'm a card-carrying member of. Tell us about some of these auxiliary groups that are working on a day-to-day basis to enhance what the American Legion does.
Well, the auxiliary is a congressional chartered organization. It was chartered in 1919, right along with the American Legion, and the eligibility is the spouses, male or female, because now we allow male spouses of veterans into the auxiliary, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, daughters, granddaughters, and self. They're eligible to join the auxiliary, and they do a lot of programs like, again, Girls State. That's coming up this coming Sunday. They'll start that. They do a lot with the Poppy program, and they help tremendously with the oratorical contest, junior shooting sports. They do a lot with the children and youth. They have a junior auxiliary, which is for individuals younger than 18, and they teach them flag etiquette and the proper respect to the flag. The sons, grandsons, stepsons, all male descendants of a veteran can belong to the Sons of the American Legion, and they're huge with like the Child Welfare Foundation. In the last 20 years, they've raised over $10 million for the Child Welfare Foundation, and that's one of their big pushes. But we work together as a family. We're the American Legion family, Legion Auxiliary and Sons, along with American Legion Rider. You have to belong to one of the other three organizations, and their big thing is now Children and Veterans Foundation, where we take care of a lot of the money that's raised for that. A lot of it goes to children, and a lot of it goes to veteran services.
I believe that. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the riders. I have a kind of a general question. You may be the only one who knows the answer to this, frankly. So I spoke over at Cypress Hills National Cemetery with one of the local American Legion posts, Memorial Day, where you had various state officials there too. The riders were there, and together with volunteers and the American Legion, they put up 22,000 little flags next to every grave site there for Memorial Day, which they did it like 2 weeks before, and they will take them down, but they would have by now. Do you have any sense of how many flags you put up around Memorial Day in New York State?
I know in my post alone, we go through 14 gross of flags just in my post. So there's got to be hundreds of thousands of flags that are put out.
And I know it's not. The way I would look at this is you all are taking the lead. I mean, everybody pitches in, but I was 22,000 flags.
Right.
I mean, it was like it was a beautiful sight. You know, if you can just picture it. In fact, we took pictures of it.
Right.
A beautiful sight. I mean, you have enormously important work you're doing, particularly on the area of the suicides. And I don't want to downplay anything, but there was an emotional connection on Memorial Day seeing these flags, and I'll see the same thing when I speak on Veterans Day.
Right. Right. And that's where we also get youth involved, and they actually go with us and help us put flags on each one of the graves, and see that a veteran is buried there. Now they understand more what it's like and what that flag means.
Well, my sense there was from talking to the riders that they weren't actually, there were a lot of kids helping them. They weren't bending down 22,000 times, but they were a lot of kids that they brought in to assist, and they see the riders, which are distinct. You got to admit that's a distinct group, and it really catches the eye, very much catches the eye. Let me ask you this: do you have any final thoughts? I really appreciate what you've done here with us. Any for our audience?
Well, like I said, I did bring up about the Be the One initiative that the American Legion is doing, and that is to stop veteran suicide. Yeah. We actually work with the VA. The VA has a program called SAVE, and we will sit down and the VA will teach this program. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be a Legionnaire or a veteran to go through this. Anybody can do it, and it teaches you, the signs of veteran suicide, and how to talk to an individual who is talked about maybe wanting to commit suicide, and we want to stop veteran suicide. That's our big push. We want to stop veteran suicide, and we're doing everything we possibly can to stop it. So, but
it's no argument. It's as worthy an item as anything you could come up with, frankly. So, thank you on that. I do want to thank you, Tim, for who is the commander of the American Legion, Department of New York, for taking the time to be with us. I would also like to thank Katie Mohan and Andrew Davis for making this podcast happen. They produce it for us. I mean, if you've enjoyed the podcast or one of our many that can be found at our website, cpnys.org, or on our YouTube channel, you'll find us in a lot of different places, Tim. Just let others know. In fact, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let me ask you this. What is the best way for a person who's, somebody who spends time online, what is the best way for a person to catch up with the American Legion online? What would be the website you would recommend?
www.legion.org.
That's about as simple as you can get. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much on that. Once again, thank you for watching the Conservative Party's podcast, Patriots Podium, and I'm Chairman Jerry Kassar. Thank you.